What's up, everyone, and welcome to Variant the podcast. We guess?
Sort of. Not really.
We're back, but we're not back.
We're not back. We're kind of back.
I mean, we're here.
Oh, yeah, we're here.
But we're not back permanently.
No.
This is very temporary.
Yeah. This is not the official return of the podcast. No. You guys have been asking for us to come back in an unbelievable way. It's actually been a lot of fun to see you guys' reaction to us being out since really December. December was the last podcast.
Gosh, 6 months.
Yeah. And we said in December, we'll be back.
Yes.
And we are going to be back. But we're going to be back because you guys have asked for us to come back. We were planning on coming back anyway. But you guys have been asking for us to bring back the podcast. And we, in fact, are. This is not the relaunch of the podcast. However, no. We wanted to come on today because The Flash came out and there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. We wanted to comment on our thoughts on The Flash. But the podcast will be returning on a regular basis in July.
Maybe. No, July.
Way to step on it.
July.
Yeah,
July.
No, in July. Coming in July, you guys are going to see us back in here on a weekly basis, and we've got this set is going to be going away. There's going to be a brand new set that we're actually in the process of developing. So we got a whole bunch of new plans, and a couple weeks ago, if you notice, I like the shirt Arris is wearing. You guys, check this out.
The V.
Got some new variant swag. A couple of weeks ago, we announced that we have the very first variant full merch line that we are going to be launching here on June 28th.
That's my birthday.
It is, in fact, your birthday.
I get free merch.
Maybe.
I want a backpack. I want a hat. I want a hoodie. Another T-shirt.
Once an only child, always an only child. But yeah, we've got, so the merch line was the first of several major announcements. The return of the podcast is another one of our big announcements, but also we've got several other ones that are coming up in the next couple of months. We've got a lot of things under development that we are going to bring to you guys, but the podcast, again, will be returning on a regular basis in July, so stay tuned for an exact return date. Probably at the beginning of July, we'll announce that.
Can I just say, too, I don't think the show has ever been asked a question so consistently, and it's kind of flattering about the podcast return.
It is.
Like,
yes,
I
see
really the comment or a question on everything, social media, on the Variant channel, comments, like everywhere, and it's kind of great.
It's been
great.
Really...
Yeah, it's like, you guys really like hearing us talk.
Yeah, it's been really cool. And like Eric said, flattering, but also just thank you guys for all of your support, asking for us to bring it, but also just all the kind words. Just saying how much you enjoy the podcast and got you through work or whatever it was, because we've always enjoyed doing it, and it's been really nice to hear that you guys enjoy listening.
It's like, hey, if you want to listen to our voices on the way to work, we're going to give it to you.
Yeah, we're gonna come. We're gonna bring the radio voices.
Yeah, we're gonna bring you that nerdy goodness. But there's gonna be spoilers. So we'll say that. Obviously, we're not gonna be here talking.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be a spoiler talk. So if you have not seen The Flash and you do not want to hear spoilers, this is not the conversation for you. We're gonna go all in.
Yes. So I guess just overall thoughts. I really liked it. Right. I really enjoyed the film. I would say that it is one of. I need to see it again before I say it's like my favorite DC universe film. I don't even know if it's DCU, DCEU. That's one of my gripes. Like, I don't know where, even by the end of the film, I don't know where we're at. Has it fully transitioned? Has it not? So I'm gonna say DC universe film with all the Justice League members and stuff. It's top tier. I need to see it again, but it's definitely gonna be like top 3. I mean, because like if someone was to ask me like, what are your favorite DC universe movies now? It's like Wonder Woman, Man of Steel, and like Flash would probably be like the first 3 that come to my head. The
problem with it is there's not a high bar.
I mean,
you don't have a ton to choose from when it comes to DC live action films.
The first Shazam was
in terms of like high quality.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel
like separating out the Nolan films.
The DCEU,
which I guess you can't do.
The DCU is such a weird thing because it's the hate is justified, but at the same time, I feel like it's almost exaggerated because yes, they never found their footing. Yes, it's been a mess with all the things that happened with the Justice League, with like even BVS, how that was a debacle, that didn't hit, and then how that led into Justice League, because that's when it all really started. BVS, and then leading to Justice League, and then stuff happened with Snyder. And
everything with the Justice League is where it really went off the rails.
And then Suicide Squad was right after Justice League, so it was like back to back, and everyone was like, oh my God. So, but there's still a lot of Man of Steel. I like the James Gunn Suicide Squad, the first Shazam film, Wonder Woman, Flash, the first Aquaman, I wouldn't say is like amazing, but I liked it. It entertained me. And And yeah, so I don't know. I think it gets a little more hate than it does. I think for me, my issues with the DCEU is more of the continuity stuff, where they just could never find their stride or footing. Like where are we going?
Right.
Where it wasn't the films? Yeah, we're lacking a little bit, but for me, it was more so like, give me a vision. Give me a place where we're going. Are we all leading to Darkseid? Are we leading there? Are we leading to Anti-Monitor? Are we leading to Brainiac? Where are we leading? Just tell me. And it never really happened, you know?
Yeah, definitely direction was always the biggest issue. And I mean, that is not to take away from some of the films were just not good. I mean, there was some real quality issues in regards to them. Like the latest Shazam film.
Yeah, that one disappointed me, especially since I enjoyed the first one so much.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I get that the new Shazam film, even this Flash movie, it's kind of up in the air as to what it's going to mean in the overall big picture going forward.
They really didn't explain it, yeah.
Yeah, the Aquaman film or whatever, they were kind of in limbo. They're kind of floating out there, but they were, they were conceived and built while they were still kind of ongoing before this overall reboot. So just kind of but you go backwards, the first Aquaman film, the first Suicide Squad movie, beefy.
BVS.
Yeah, BVS. You could, yeah, it was a little beefy. BVS was convoluted as crap. And then what happened with the Justice League, that was just next level crazy. Although the Snyder cut of the Justice League did prove to be significantly better.
I didn't mention that a few minutes ago when I was talking about it. The Snyder cut. Yeah, imagine if we would have got that first, that probably would have, things could have looked a lot different.
It very much
that
so.
was what we got.
If Snyder would have been able to stay on,
yes,
and they allow his full vision of that to come through. I think that everything that's happened since then would have been a different course.
It's kind of funny
because he would have been able to complete it.
For sure.
He would have been able to do part 2.
Dude, that's still like we've talked about this at nauseam before, but isn't it still kind of annoying that we're never going to see? Because the way that the Snyder cut ended for Justice League, it's a massive cliffhanger. It was like basically the end of like Infinity War, or, Across the Spider-Verse, where it's literally like a to be continued.
Right.
And we're never going to see that.
Right.
So it's like, and I really enjoyed it. Sure, it was like 4 hours, right? It was like 4 hours.
It was 4 hours, yeah. It
was glorious though.
Or is 4 hours.
And
still exists.
I want that nightmare. I want to see Batman team up with the Joker, and then after the mission is complete, him kill him like he said he was going to do.
I have to admit, after seeing it, I was, and anybody who's watched the podcast for any length of time, I was very deeply skeptical as to whether or not it was going to be that significant of an improvement. But it was a dramatic improvement on what we actually got theatrically. And when it was done, even though it was 4 hours long, I absolutely was like, I would love to see how this would have ended.
Yeah, for sure.
And we'll never get to see that.
Because we basically would have gotten a live action Injustice Superman, like Superman.
I mean, the way they left it with Darkseid and where Superman was, and then you can go off on the whole tangent of what happened with Superman since and Henry Cavill and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole other thing.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like all that, you have the movies itself, but I feel like most of it is just like the chaos between like Warner Brothers not bringing Cavill back, saying they are going to bring Cavill back. So The Rock says they're going to bring him back. Oh, we're not bringing you back because now we're under new leadership. And just all that kind of stuff that happened around the films, it just put such a bad taste.
Yeah, the direction of everything and just the overall leadership at Warner and DC, it's just been very chaotic. And that is what's led to a lot of the disgruntled, vibe from fans. Just the bad. But
the hierarchy of power
has changed over and over again.
It changed.
But we're getting really sidetracked.
He's like, oh, it's changing, Dwayne. It's changing. I'm the hierarchy now.
Yeah. And he sent The Rock packing. He sure as heck did.
Dude, I would have loved to be in that meeting. Because I like The Rock. I'm a fan of The Rock, but I don't know.
I said it when it happened. No one looked worse in that situation than Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
I am a fan of The Rock, but he kind of messed that up a little bit.
Yeah. And that was an embarrassing moment for all.
But hey, he's apparently going back to the Fast franchise. At first you don't succeed, go to Fast and the Furious.
If you can't stay Black Adam, go back to the Fast.
Because what is Fast about? Family.
Yeah.
All right,
that's right.
Family. You gotta go back to family.
He's gonna show Warner. This is how you handle family.
Anyway, Flash. So you enjoyed it too, right? You enjoyed it.
I did. I did not. I don't think I liked it as much as you. Or I guess you should say I'm not as enthusiastic about it as you are.
You were when,
and I know everyone's very surprised.
No, but probably overall. But anytime Keaton was on there, we were like, bumping like freaking arms, and they were like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, there was several moments in there where it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely, there was a ton of fan service. I guess let's start with like kind of an overview of like the bigger things that happened in the film.
Keaton.
And then, and then what didn't happen. So obviously this is the return of the Flash and him going back in time, and we're discovering that he can travel through time, and his attempt to try and bring his mother back.
Right.
He wants to restore his mother back to life and have her back in existence, get his father out of jail.
Essentially Flashpoint.
Yeah. And it was kind of Flashpoint.
Well, in the sense that he wants to go back in time to save his mother. But
yes,
like, that's
that element of it. It was
back.
A little less Flashpoint. I don't know if you thought this. It was less Flashpoint as an overall story.
For sure.
Significantly than I thought they were going to dabble in.
The big two elements that were glaring was obviously the reason why he goes back to, save his mom. But also when he was when the original Barry that went time traveling, how he lost his powers and went back.
Right.
How he got his powers back in like that electric chair type thing.
Yep.
That was like pulled almost verbatim out of the book.
Right.
Even the way it looked, which was awesome.
So those are the only two things really that was like, that's definitely pulled from Flashpoint. Everything else was kind of like, okay, they just did their own thing and they just touched on it, but without it being really a full Flashpoint story. So anyway, so he goes back in time and he jacks everything up. As a result, he ends up...
Bruce warned him.
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, Bruce.
Yeah, Batfleck warned him not to mess with it. He does it anyway. He ends up getting knocked out of the Speed Force and the time stream, if you want to call it that, by some mysterious dark Flash figure. And he ends up in Michael Keaton Batman's universe.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Where then Michael Keaton... But we get to Batman. He goes looking for Batman, Bruce Wayne, for help. And he discovers it's a different Batman. Wayne Manor is completely like abandoned, seemingly.
Well, it was
dusty, crusty, dusty.
It was cool that because he's like, when Barry goes back, he sees his younger self. I believe his 18-year-old self is supposed to be.
He sees his mom's alive.
He sees his mom's alive and all that stuff. But like he finds out because he's trying to gather the Justice League to be like, hey, they could help me, fix everything and get back. So he's looking for like Victor Stone. He's looking for like Clark, Superman, and everything. And he realizes like, wait, these people don't exist / don't have powers in this universe. There's no metahumans in this world.
Right.
But there's a Batman. Right. Because Batman doesn't have
and we can't forget, he loses his powers first.
Yeah.
So the original Flash loses his powers first.
Through trying to give powers to the younger version of himself.
Because he thinks he's still in his timeline. He thinks he's in his universe, just back in time.
Yes.
When he doesn't realize he's in an alternate universe. So he thinks, well, I got to make sure that this Barry gets where I was when I got my powers, or I'm going to lose my powers now. So he goes and takes him to exactly where he was. He tries to recreate it. And so doing, he loses his powers. The other Barry gets powers and a tooth, which switches places by the end of the film, by the way.
I was still going through them. Like, let me see. It was left side mirror. Because,
yeah, he puts the tooth back in at the end of the movie. It's the other tooth.
I wonder if that was on purpose.
I don't know.
Because it'd be like it was a different
alternate timelines, different Barrys. I don't know.
Hmm.
So he loses powers. The whole thing, he goes, there's no Justice League. He figures out there's nobody else. He goes and finds Batman. It's Michael Keaton Batman. And craziness ensues. That's when they also discover Kal-El. It's not Kal-El Superman. It's Kara-El or Kara Zor-El. And Supergirl, they have to bust her out of a Russian, Serbian prison or whatever, where she's in lockdown
where
and
we
been
get
separated from the sun.
The single greatest Keaton fight scene that we're probably ever going to get, unless he reappears again sometime in the future. But man, I thought it was so funny, like, because he's so much older now, yet this fight scene was like pisses on anything we've seen Keaton do before. Because the technology is obviously better.
Without question.
And stuff. But man,
fight choreography is so much better now than it was when they did those movies.
Like, and a lot of it was like CGI, where he's like zipping around, flipping.
Some of it was just stunt doubles.
Yeah, but like the stuff where he would use like the grappling hook to like
for sure.
freaking Scorpion, get over here and like freaking like armbar them or whatever, or clothesline them. Dope. So good.
Amazing. And at that point, that's where so touching on when they first find Batman, there was one of the things that I was just kind of like, do we have to do the Dark Knight Rises routine where when we find him, he's like this old, broke down Bruce Wayne. His house is abandoned. He's no longer Batman. He's not even really Bruce Wayne, like in terms of like the billionaire, powerful billionaire player where he's still involved. He's kind of a recluse. He's got long hair, a long beard.
He lost Alfred.
Yeah, but he's still somehow
Vicky
like
Vale.
a ninja flipping around, taking on the Flash. It was kind of that part. I was like,
oh,
nah,
you know what it
love
is?
that.
You know what it is? You know what did it for him? He lost Selena Kyle. That'll do it for any dude. That'll make any dude go crazy. He's like, I had her, and now she's gone.
Does he say that in the movie?
No.
I was going to say, I don't remember that ever coming up.
No. But they did touch on their relationship in the comic that we covered right here on Variant.
Yes.
The Batman 89 comic that's in continuity with the Burtonverse.
Which wasn't that great, actually.
It wasn't. But he was still with her in that comic book.
But yeah, so that part I was like, I don't, because I'm kind of getting I'm over the whole, these for new storytelling, them taking our heroes from previous, bringing them back, but when they bring them back, they're like broke down, old, disgruntled. They're not really heroes anymore. It's like, what did we go through all of this huge story arc with these characters for them to go through all this just so that they can kind of revert back to being this just messed up, broken soul.
I did think it was very...
Like they've done it. They did it with Han Solo. They did it with Luke Skywalker. They've done it. Now they're doing it. It looks like they're doing that with Indiana Jones for the new movie. I mean, it's just kind of like, I'm kind of over that whole routine.
I thought it was more interesting that he said that Gotham didn't need a Batman anymore. Like Gotham was like good, like it leveled out. So like
it's like the safest city in the world.
Yeah.
Basically.
So like he saved it somehow, which I thought that was really interesting. I would like to see how that happened. Like if they ever went back and did something like in the meantime where it's like he decided to put the Cape and Cowl down. It's like, oh, so what did you do that fixed it, or what happened that fixed it? That's a whole other story. I
AI.
feel like.
But yeah, from there, that's when he decides he's going to help, Keaton Batman decides he's going to help the Flash. The Flash convinces, the two Flashes, they convince him to help. And that's when we start getting some of the coolest Keaton Batman moments.
The Danny Elfman score.
Of all time. Oh, man. The music. Dude, let me tell you something.
Really does it too, right?
Yeah,
like
it pushes it over the top so hard. The second the score, the theme songs, and they didn't just play like that da 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 da. They play the actual score music as they're fighting, like the march. Yeah, they're flying through the air. It's the original music from the original films, and it just sucks you right back.
Can we talk about the
those moments?
To how the Batwing, like the plane itself spins, like does 360s.
That was awesome.
But the pilot, the people in the cockpits don't. So it just rotates around them.
Oh, such a cool ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that.
It was just a modified Batwing because it looked like the original 89 one, just modified. Yeah. And like a 3-seater now, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was really great. So also what surprised me, which was I mean, we're talking spoilers here. I guess it didn't surprise me so much, and I don't know if it really much matters with the multiverse. Is initially we were all thinking that Ben Affleck Batman was going to be killed off. Like that was kind of like, oh, that's how you get rid of him. You're just going to kill him. We even saw that bloody cowl in the trailer, which turned out to be Keaton's cowl.
Yeah, that was a huge misdirect.
Because after one of the, I think the Russian fight, we see him in the bathroom, blood all over him, sewing up his stitches, which was awesome because he was smiling in the mirror, like, I'm back, baby.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, this feels good.
Yeah.
I want to go back and look at the trailers. I wonder did they switch the cowls? Because remember we were all looking at the cowls in the original
and it looked like the Ben Affleck one.
And it looked like Ben Affleck's cowl. It did not look like that.
I wonder.
So now I want to go back and look at the original and see if that was an intentional misdirect. I think it might have been.
But either way, the total misdirect is, everyone was assuming that when they killed off Keaton at the end. But it's one of those things where it's like, I think I told you before we saw the movie, I'm like, with the multiverse now, it's like, they killed him, but like, you could just bring back another version of Keaton Batman because he exists in the multiverse in that time stream. So it's like, with the multiverse is cool and it opens up a plethora of possibilities, but it also kind of makes deaths pointless because if you want to, you can now bring them back because you're like, oh, just kind of like what they did with Gamora. Right. Oh, she died, but we still got Gamora because this is Earth 549 Gamora. You know, like, so.
Yeah, and she's kind of even reverting back to.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But I thought that was, what was more shocking than that, because I was like, I thought a Batman was going to die. I just thought it was going to be Affleck and not Keaton, was Supergirl. That was kind of crazy.
Yes.
And I saw her having I'm surprised that she didn't have a bigger role. I thought they used her perfectly. But it took me off guard. I was like, for sure thought they were going to do more with her or set her up for future film, where it was very much like she's here. Like she could just play Supergirl in this movie and be done. Like she very much just served her purpose for the film, and they didn't really lead it anymore. Of course, they can come back and have her do other things if they wanted to, but it works either way. So I wonder if the intention was like one and done,
I don't know. They certainly in this movie, they certainly made it, and they made it abundantly clear, like no matter what they did, the Flashes, they kept trying.
Yes.
People, they went to battle against the Kryptonians, Zod and the Kryptonians, who were invading, and there was no Superman to fight against them.
At least in this timeline.
In this timeline.
Yeah.
And so, events lead to, after they break Supergirl out, because Zod invades, and that's the whole point of them going looking for Superman. They find it's, Supergirl. Anyway, so when they get to the battle with the Kryptonians, it actually happens pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Batman meets his demise relatively quickly initially, and then Supergirl, same thing. Well, she beats the crap out of Zod first, which was great.
Yeah, it was great. Because after the second Barry, the young Barry, goes to try to multiple times trying to save Batman and save Supergirl, mm-hmm. they just eventually go back to or Barry thinks he goes back to his world that's perfect, and then that's where.
Well, what Barry says is he basically says this is like a point in time where you can't change.
Well, the point I'm getting to is in the Burton verse, the Keaton verse, Zod wins. Yes. Right? Because they never resolved that.
Right.
And I'm just now thinking this right now. That's weird. That's crazy. Yep. So they told us that in the Keaton verse, Zod destroys it and terraforms it and makes it Earth, yeah. It makes it Krypton.
He wins.
So in Burton continuity, Zod turns Keaton's Earth into Krypton.
Yeah. Unless there's something we're forgetting.
I don't think there is. That's why I was double checking with you, because he basically says you can't fix this. This is fate. This is a thing that you can't change no matter how many times, which they prove to us because we see that in the future that's who Dark Flash is. Right. That's so they show I've been here for years. They're how long have you been here? It's time doesn't matter, but he was probably thousands of years or whatever. So yeah, Zod takes over the Keaton verse. That's weird. Wow, how come no one's talking about that?
But they don't talk about because they didn't really make a big deal of it either. Yeah, they just was we can't change this no matter what we do in this universe. Batman dies, Supergirl dies. There's no undoing it. And he was no, nobody dies. I can fix this. And he, the secondary Barry, this alternate Barry, he keeps trying, and that's what eventually turns him into the Dark Flash.
I don't know if I like that now. Now I'm wait a minute.
Because what are you going to do with that? You did these things, and it's what are you going to do with that in the end?
I mean, I don't know. Burton was never going to revisit it, but no. You ended that universe with the villains winning. Literally, yeah. He kills Supergirl, takes her DNA that he needs to terraform the Earth into a new Krypton.
Right.
Wow. Get Burton on the line. I want to know what he thinks.
Yeah, now I'm wait, I gotta watch the movie again. Maybe they address it and we just
maybe we're wrong and people are yelling at us.
Yeah, so if you guys let us know in the comments if you guys caught something that we missed when watching the movie, because I said movies. But yeah, because from what I remember too, it's they just kind of say there's no change in this. You cannot do it, and no matter what we do, we cannot change this, and they leave it at that.
Because that was a major point, that it can't be fixed, and that's what causes Barry to
because the only thing that they fix in the timeline when the two Flashes, they eventually fight the Dark Flash, and that was another cool thing about the part where they go to battle with the Kryptonians is the Flash working with the alternate Flash to teach him how to use.
Yeah, that was cool. And their lightning was different colors.
And them kind of playing off of each other. There's some really cool moments with that too.
That I liked as well. How in the Justice League his lightning was blue, and this it was yellow because the more he learns and the faster he gets, his lightning color changes.
Yeah,
so that was cool.
But then when the two are in the timeline and the alternate Barry is just over and over again trying to change time, mm-hmm. and then he gets trapped in there ultimately and that's the Dark Flash who is attacking them and not wanting them to, put a stop to, the attempts to alter the timeline. And they combine forces, and the alternate Barry, who ultimately becomes the Dark Flash, which is kind of convoluted, he fights against himself and helps Barry destroy the Dark Flash, because him attempting to endlessly try to fix what they're breaking over and over and over again causes this huge catastrophic event where all the multiverse basically starts to implode. They start to collide and destroy each other entirely. But in that moment, that's one of the coolest moments of the entire movie.
Oh, yes.
Because that's when they start taking us to giving us flashes and glimpses
of the multiverse.
Of all these multiverses. or the multiverse and all of these different universes, and we get taken to the George Reeves Superman.
That was a deep pull.
So cool.
66 Batman.
Yeah, 66 Batman shows up. There was a lot of Superman though. It was mostly
Reeves,
Superman, Christopher Reeves Superman, and we even get the original Supergirl.
Yes,
standing next to Christopher Reeves. It starts with Christopher Reeves, and then she comes up after that. But one of the craziest,
the biggest one for sure.
The biggest one, it was like, whoa, is you're taken to a universe where we see a version of the Nicolas Cage Superman and what that may have looked like. Now it looks like a video game.
Bro.
Because it's not real.
It's the same suit that we've seen him do like tests.
Yes.
We see test footage of, because there's a documentary on, Nicolas Cage becoming or almost becoming Superman with Tim Burton.
He's fighting a giant alien
scorpion spider thing. Which I believe, if memory serves me correctly, is a reference to when Kevin Smith's script, when they were going to have him write a Superman film, he did a treatment for Superman. He has the story. You can find it on YouTube. They had him do a treatment for Superman, and they're like, no, you need a spider, and you need a giant like spider thing. He's like, but why? He's like, because spiders are cool and blah, blah, blah. So I think that was like a little like for like deep nerds to put that in there and be like, see, he's fighting like a big spider scorpion thing. Because at the time, if memory serves me correctly, Wild Wild West came out, and the guy who produced that movie, remember the big spider at the end? Because he just liked big spiders. And it was, the movie wasn't successful, but he just liked he had a thing with like spiders, saying they're like so threatening him. They're some of the like the most, intimidating animals in the animal kingdom. And Kevin Smith was like, okay. And he's like, so you got to put it in the script. Like, all right, you're paying me to do this, I guess so. And I think that's why they did that, which was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was one of the cooler moments in the film to see them, such a deep cut and just a pull to like just fan service. It was great fan service because, ever since they did that documentary, everybody's like, man, what would that have been like? That would have been a wild Superman to see Nick Cage play Superman.
A Tim Burton directed Nick Cage. I gotta say, I thought it looked kind of cool.
It did look kind of cool.
Because he had the long hair too.
I was like, kind of cool.
That doesn't look as bad as I thought it would look.
Yeah, because when they showed it, because they originally you see Superman from behind.
Yeah, you see.
And I was like, which Superman is? I'm watching. I'm like, what? I don't know who the Superman this is. And I'm staring. I knew instantly. Then he turned. Did you really?
Yeah.
I was like, which Superman is this? And then he turns around. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
So but that whole montage where you see all the different, you didn't see. Having said that, I will say I was a little bit surprised you did not see as many DC characters.
No, that was actually all of them.
I thought,
You saw George Reeves, Christopher Reeves, the woman who plays Supergirl.
Yep, the original Supergirl.
And you saw Nicolas Cage Superman and 66 Batman. That was it. Unless I missed something. Unless I could have missed something, but those were the big ones. They might have been like in corners.
I feel like there was little edges and stuff like that. But
I could have missed
as far as stuff that was, deliberately, drawn attention to. But yeah, it was definitely less than I thought.
As cool as it was. I haven't gone through puberty yet. As cool as it was, I will say it was a little lackluster for me, just because they did this a month or two ago in the Titans season. I don't know. Well, the last season of the Titans. I forget what episode
Crisis on Infinite Earths. Right?
No, the Titan show on HBO Max or Max.
Oh,
now.
I thought you were talking about
Beast Boy goes into the multiverse, and he does basically the same thing. He sees Swamp Thing. He sees like CW Flash.
Oh, that's right. I didn't see it. You told me about it.
Yeah, he sees like
I forgot about that.
I believe even Teen Titans Go, like the animated stuff, and even Grant Morrison, the writer of all this. So he's like, so I was like, and they did the same thing where he was in a multiverse and he sees all the images around him, and he briefly visits like Stargirl and Swamp Thing and all that stuff, and it connects it all together. So I was like, cool, this is awesome. And like, Reeves Superman, both George and Chris and Nicolas Cage Superman. But I'm like, DC kind of already did this though in the show, where they show that the multiverse is already a thing.
Yeah.
So now they're just kind of doubling down on the fact that it exists. We knew it did. Again, it's always cool to see it, but they weren't the first to do it, is what I'm saying. Right. Which is kind of weird that James Gunn, whoever, kind of let that happen, knowing that the Flash was going to do it. Like, they let it go on TV first. Yeah, but you could have easily taken that scene out.
I'm not that surprised by that because, I've said to you in private many times, I really am still not convinced that these movies, this one, the second Shazam, the Flash, and the second Aquaman, it is going to mean anything to the DCU going forward at all. Which is why I think we got so much ambiguity in the Flash. Even with the multiverse, the multiversal aspects of it, It was so ambiguous. We were left on like this. You kind of left the movie ending. You were kind of like, huh?
No, we were left on Clooney, Tim.
Yeah.
So
the movie
George
ends.
Clooney.
So you think he's back to his timeline. You think that because he makes one change at the end. After he fixes, they destroy the Dark Flash. It undoes all of the damage that he done. The multiverse is saved, right? And then he gets to go back to his timeline with his powers because he regains his powers with the whole electrocution thing. And he gets to go back to his timeline. Great. And you find out that the one thing that he did do was when he goes and undoes what he did originally by taking the can of tomatoes that his mom forgot.
He puts it on the top shelf so his dad
looks up so that he can get out of prison in the his timeline.
Mm-hmm. So at least his dad isn't locked up. Yeah.
Yeah. So at least his dad can get out of jail and his alibi is proven. So when he gets back, you think he's in his timeline. His dad's about to get out of jail. Wow, happy day. And then at the end, he's standing outside the courthouse. Here comes Bruce Wayne. It's the same car that Batfleck was driving in the beginning of the film. So you think it's him. He steps out, and lo and behold, it is George Clooney, Bruce Wayne, Batman.
No, it's Bat Nipples. It's Bat Nipples Batman.
You know, that's the right name. That is the right name. Forever shall be
Which
dubbed
was an
Bat
awesome
Nipples.
cameo.
It was.
And it does, I know, because people are going to be like, does that mean he's Batman for Batman Brave and the Bold? No, because James Gunn tweeted and shut that down real quick. Someone asked the same thing. He's like, he's going to be the main DCU Batman. And James Gunn literally says, absolutely not, period. So it was just a fun cameo.
Exactly.
And this might not even be, I mean, we don't know. This might not even be like the main Earth that we're going to be revisiting in the DCU going forward. You know what I mean?
And then we get a post-credit scene with Aquaman.
Just so dumb.
That was also just very kind of like...
Everyone's complaining about it, by the way. I saw...
It's like, what was the point of it?
I saw Comic Book Resources post it, and literally all the comments were like, don't stay for the end credit scene. It's dumb. It's pointless, which we were saying.
Yeah. I was like, I don't get what that was for.
It was to have drunk Aquaman and everyone be like, ha ha, Arthur's drunk. The end.
I don't get it.
Yeah,
it was just
dumb.
So you get left at the end where you're like, okay, well, is he not in his timeline, or he's in another timeline still? Just by making that one change from the bottom shelf to the top shelf, he's still altered time, and he's not. Is he not in his timeline? Did he alter his own? Like, we don't. They kind of leave it very ambiguous. You have George Clooney as Bruce Wayne Batman, and you're just kind of left with, I don't know that this is even going to matter in the end. And so I'm not convinced that these three movies, they're just leaving it ambiguous as to whether these are going to have anything to do with the DCU so that people will go see it. They'll feel like there's a reason to go see it. They can get some return on their investment because they put a lot of money into these movies. And they're just so they can squeeze as much out of it as they can. And then after Aquaman what's it, December, right? Or did they move it?
Aquaman is December still.
Okay.
So
last I remember, it's still December. But once that's done, then they'll really reveal like the full slate and say this is what we're doing, and this stuff will matter very little. I'm not maybe they tie it in somewhere somehow, but I am not convinced at all that any of this is going to matter. At all
I feel like after this, because Blue Beetle's probably going to be fun. I think it looks like a ton of fun.
Which James Gunn did say that Blue Beetle is the first official DCU film.
On the to Lex Luthor,
makes
actually.
No sense.
He said that to Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He said it on the Michael Rosenbaum Inside of You podcast. Michael Rosenbaum was Lex Luthor. Smallville, also the voice of the Flash in Justice League the Animated Series. But yeah, he said that on that it's going to be the first official DCU film, which is weird because like that was also shot before James Gunn came on board. So Black Adam obviously before James Gunn, Flash obviously before James Gunn, Blue Beetle before James Gunn, and then I think that's it. Aquaman will be the last film that's before James Gunn. Then everything else, Creature Commandos, which is the animated series James Gunn is doing in the DCU, and Superman will be the first two under James Gunn's like umbrella. Like he was here when this started development.
This is now his brain trust.
Yeah. So he says that, but I'm like, I feel like it's really not going to kick off until like Superman Legacy. Because that's like...
I do too, because you're also muddying the waters because Blue Beetle comes out before Aquaman.
Yeah, so we got two more of the old regime's movie. I mean, Blue Beetle
looks good. What I'm saying is that he's saying that Blue Beetle is the DCU. Aquaman, not so much. You know what I mean? Yeah. And by the way, the returns, the screenings on
Aquaman horrible.
have been really bad.
Yeah.
For a myriad of reasons, I guess. But, so it's kind of weird. It's like, okay, if that's the case and you're considering this part of the DCU and this one, I'm not sure. Like, why not just flip that? Why not have Blue Beetle come out in December and have Aquaman come out, say, September, October?
The thing...
Because I just confirmed Aquaman is still coming out December 20th.
So as I'm sitting here thinking more, I really did enjoy this movie. I do think it's one of the top tier DC Universe films. But like, I just wish, because how long have I been saying Flashpoint, use this movie for Flashpoint?
Yeah, Flashpoint
right?
is the answer, yeah.
And they didn't really...
If you're going to sustain and have it all connect.
Yeah, but like...
Which I'm
trying to think, because like, they did enough to explain, because any changes going forward, you could just easily put in a piece of dialogue or contribute it to stuff that happens here. It's like, yeah, because we learned from Flash, then when he went back, he screwed things up. So that's why things are different. Right. But it didn't cement it, or they land it as much as I wanted them to. Like, I wanted them to do something like at the end of the Flashpoint comic where Barry goes back and it like he's in a different costume. Mm-hmm. Like Batman's now younger, he's in a different suit, where it established it like that. Like, yeah, Barry went back, it's a different Batman. But that Batman, James Gunn even said on Twitter, is not going to be the Batman. No. So I want him to go back and potentially be like, oh, this is the new Superman that we're going to use. Oh, right. The Batman they would have showed, right, that's who we're using for Batman Brave and the Bold. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they didn't really do that. They're like, things are different, but how are they going to explain who the main Batman is, who this new Superman is? Is it just going to be like as simple as he messed up the time stream, so it changed I mean, because he went back, clearly it's a different Batman. But the thing that's throwing me off is if they stay in that world, right? And they explain that the Superman from Superman Legacy is different because he messed things up. How does that explain the change for Batman? Because you already made that Clooney Batman. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's not the Batman they're going to use. Yeah. So I don't know. That's where it's... I mean, there's ways around it, I'm sure.
There is.
But I wish it was more simple, because everyone would be like, ah. Yes. Like, I wanted an aha moment. Like, there it is. You reset everything, you know?
That is why I have been I've been a proponent of right from the get of do not try to incorporate the DCEU and the Snyderverse into what you're doing next.
Just reboot it.
Just reboot. Yeah. Say, hey, we're going to rip the Band-Aid off. We're starting this thing over from scratch. That was this. This is something new. Mm-hmm. And it would just make a clean cut. That way there's just a clear delineation and everybody can enjoy this. Those who did enjoy this and loved this for what it was, you have this. This is where it started, this is where it ended. Yeah. And now this is a new era for DC. It was just the easiest way, because you could have used Flashpoint and there was a way to do that to connect them, but you risk, because again, one of the DC and Warner Brothers biggest issues from the start has been too many cooks in the kitchen.
For sure.
Right? There's just too many people's hands in the soup. And so it's made for a convoluted mess in many, many instances. And so that being the case, by trying to incorporate the Flashpoint storyline to connect the old with the new, you risk keeping that convoluted state going.
Right.
And muddying the waters when you don't need to do. There's just no need to do it. It's been proven over and over again that you can reset things, and the fan base, if you do it well, the fan base will accept that. And because I think.
Do you think
it's just they treat the fan base like we're dumb sometimes?
Do you think they'll just quite literally go to a different Earth?
Maybe so.
Like, just like I don't know. They ended here and they explain, like, if they recast Ezra, which I hope they do, and stuff, and recast all your new Superman, your new Batman, they just go to a different Earth and be like, yeah, because we established there's different Earths, the multiverse in the Flash. So now, the Batman from Brave and the Bold and Superman from Legacy is just this Earth. Yeah. And Clooney will stay over there with Ezra Miller, and it's just kind of fun fan service. But now we're focusing on this new Prime Earth or Earth Zero, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. They just keep hinting at.
I just wanted a clear path. I wanted a clear path. I wanted answers.
I know.
I wanted an answer.
That's why I was like, dude, just rip the Band-Aid off. Clean cut. Because now, okay, so we had the CW stuff. They did the Crisis on Infinite Earth stuff.
Right? Where Grant Gustin interacted with Ezra Miller
and there was
Flash.
all this crossover, and you had characters. Even Ezra Miller Flash showed up at one point. Or was it Grant Gustin showed up in the Flash? I can't
Ezra
remember.
Miller came over to the CW Flash.
Okay, yeah. So I'm remembering right. So Ezra Miller shows up. It's like there's all this crossover. Then you had, even in the Justice League, the original Justice League, where you showed Barry going back in time to talk to Bruce. Am I early?
Yeah.
Am I early? That whole thing. So you had
Lois, she's the key.
So then the Titans thing, where you also had Beast Boy seeing all the different timelines and different characters. Now with the Flash, the multiverse that they showed even further there. So you have all these different instances where they have just continually demonstrated the Flash and all these things are connected and all of it exists and all that kind of a thing. And so it kind of leads you to believe like that's just the direction they're going to take. They're just telling the audience like, nope, it's a multiverse. All of it exists and we're going to compartmentalize. The question is what you're bringing up. That's the big remaining question, which is like the hanging cloud, which is like, that's fine. But as you move forward and you start telling these stories like Superman Legacy, Batman Brave and the Bold, and all this kind of stuff, and all these other things that you're looking to incorporate, like the Suicide Squad is still going to exist.
Well, there's a lot of things. Yeah.
Peacekeeper.
Peacemaker.
Sorry, Peacekeeper.
Peacemaker, Amanda Waller, because she's getting a series, which in that same podcast.
Who shows up in Batman, Black Adam.
Yeah, in that podcast, he said a lot of the Peacemaker characters will appear in Waller. So we got the prequel for the Amazons, which is literally just a prequel to literally Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman and stuff. So it's like even James Gunn is developing and creating projects that is under stuff that is before he took over. Stuff that he did, like he did Suicide Squad, he did Peacemaker, but he didn't do what is it, the Wonder Woman or the Amazons, but he's still greenlighting it, obviously. So it's like, so they are going to keep Gal Gadot because everyone loves her as Wonder Woman. Like she's a great Wonder Woman. So it's like, they're like, well, why would we get rid of her? We can just kind of incorporate her somehow.
I think that was the reason for the reference at the end in the post-credit scene. I think that was the sole reason for that post-credit scene with Aquaman, because he specifically says to him, so you're telling me that in this timeline, in the two timelines, some people are different, like it's a different Batman, but it's the same me. Basically telling us some characters change, but others stay the same.
But that Batman, it was George Clooney Batman.
Yeah, but he was still Aquaman. Right. And that's what I think that's what they were doing. It was just this really...
But it's still weird because...
Like not very good approach to basically saying like, telling us in advance, like, yeah, so Batman will be different, Superman will be different, but Aquaman and Wonder Woman will be the same.
But see, that's time travel, multiverse stuff is just confusing in general. But it's okay, so that means in that world at the end of the movie, you got Ezra Flash, Momoa Aquaman, Clooney Batman. Those are the three we saw, right?
Yeah.
So, but that means that still can't be the main DCU continuity because we know Clooney's not gonna be the main Batman. So that means it's got to be another Earth.
Correct. I think so. What I think that's telling us is that there is
another world with Aquaman.
We're going to be leaving this and we're going back to the other timeline. No, it can't be the same timeline because that's the original Zack Snyder. So now we're going to another one and they're just going to start. And somehow they're going to demonstrate that this is yet another alternate universe where...
And I bet you Blue Beetle's not going to touch on this at all. It's going to probably be very self-contained.
Yeah.
I mean, although they do George Lopez's character references Batman. Batman's a fascist.
Batman's a fascist. That's one of the funniest parts of the show.
So maybe there might be... I mean, I didn't know Wonder Woman was going to be here. Did you know Wonder Woman was going to show up?
No, I didn't.
So maybe there might be a
we didn't mention that up until Wonder Woman appears in the Flash movie very briefly.
She also had
it's actually a really funny scene.
She also had a cameo in the second Flash. I mean the second Shazam
movie. Yep.
So like she's been
like the one constant. Yeah.
They're like, we ain't getting rid of her. We're not getting rid of Wonder Woman.
I mean, if it matters. So I don't know.
But going back to Wonder Woman, her thing was really funny because she comes to save Bruce, who's holding a thug off a bridge, who has chemicals that if it gets into the water, Alfred's like, yeah, it's going to kill all of Gotham. Like, don't let it. Yeah. So she comes in last minute saying, sorry, I'm late, pulls him up. And the lasso of truth, because she pulled him up with the lasso of truth, so it's wrapped around his arm and the thug still. So, like, he says something to the effect of, my ego won't let me say thank you. And I was like, huh? And then the camera pans down, you see because the lasso of truth is around him. I'm like, that is, and he keeps rambling. Yeah. He keeps going, and then Barry tries to help him. And
he's holding on to it, so then he starts saying things.
It was so, he's like, I've never been with a woman yet.
Yeah,
but it's not because I didn't want to. It's because and it just keeps going and going.
And Bruce is like, stop talking.
Yeah,
just let it go.
I think that's really funny because Batman is. That wouldn't have worked if it wasn't for the lasso of truth. It was funny because Batman's supposed to be stoic. He's funny because he's the straight man, right? Like he's funny when people bounce off of him. But in that scenario, because it was the lasso of truth, I'm like, no, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
because
really
he would never say that.
Right. Yeah, that was a funny scene. But it's true. Wonder Woman has been the one constant. The only question is, will it matter?
She's getting paid.
Yeah,
that was sure like a $500,000 cameo. Yeah.
Yeah, Batfleck, even his role was much smaller than I thought it was going to be. I knew it was going to be small, but it was even smaller than I thought.
10 minutes? It was opening scene.
Yeah, very, very small scene.
He said that on the red carpet, though. He said
it was like a cameo, essentially.
It's literally what he said. He said my role in the film is pretty much just a cameo. I mean, he had not a lot to do, but he was on the bat cycle. He was zipping around with his grappling hook. So cool.
Was he on the bat cycle? Because that actually addresses one of my gripes, one of my bigger gripes. Some of the visual effects in this film were just flat bad. I mean, bad.
Some were not the best.
There were moments that really took me out of the film because I was like, whoa. Like the face replacement stuff when people are wearing cowls. There was moments where it looked straight up like a video game. It was just really, really not good.
The one that threw me out of it the most, more so than that, was like Nicolas Cage Superman, because it wasn't for those of you who haven't seen it, which I don't know why you're listening to this if you haven't seen it yet. We just spoiled the crap out of it for you.
You don't need to see the movie anymore.
But it wasn't. It's not like they hired Nicolas Cage to have a big cameo. It was literally just like some actor that they did face replacement with, and it's like a CGI. Nicolas Cage over, like whoever's the actor's face is. But they did the same thing with Reeves, obviously, because Reeves is no longer with us, and then the Supergirl and so on and so forth. So that's what really is that you could tell that it was like, oh, those are video game CGI characters.
There was a lot. There was a number of scenes. I mean, it was cool what was happening, but the visual effects in several scenes, like when they're in the Speed Force and the time stream, if you want to call it that, and they're looking at all the different timelines, it just looks straight up like a video game menu.
I will say
it was like off-putting at times for me personally.
I will say, that's probably another thing too. That's another thing. So again, really enjoyed The Flash. It's definitely probably top 3 DC Universe movies. Got to watch it again though before I solidify anything. But again, that multiverse thing was a little lackluster for me because there's more reasons than what I mentioned earlier. So one, we already knew the multiverse existed because Ezra Miller Flash years ago briefly cameoed in CW Grant Gustin Flash. So we knew that was a thing and it was setting up. I remember I was freaking out. We were on the podcast. I was like, oh my God, guys, they confirmed that there is a little connected. And I was like geeking out hard. So that was like the first time. So I already knew. Then in Titans, this last season of Titans, Beast Boy did the same exact thing. Right. And then not DC, but Marvel. Spoilers for Across the Spider-Verse. Spoilers for Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse just did it a week before. And they did it a lot better. Like the multiverse
considerably,
stuff.
Yes.
Like that, I took my 6-year-old daughter.
People are going to be like, how come you're not talking about Across the Spider-Verse? That came out too. That's a better movie.
It is. It's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie ever. But that's
a valid complaint. Also, that we're not here also talking about the Across the Spider-Verse because we also saw that.
We could do the last 10 minutes of that, right? But that was like the way they showed the multiverse in that, where because it's an animated movie, obviously, and then you see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man with Uncle Ben, you see Andrew Garfield, you see Spectacular Spider-Man, you see like 90s Spider-Man, but you see everything, everyone, and it's just the way they did Donald Glover, Prowler.
That was, I think, one of the coolest aspects.
Just it was so good. So not to say Flash did it bad, it's just when we had so much. A week before we had it across Spider-Verse. They've already done it twice before.
Just not in a live action setting.
Right. They did it twice before in the DC universe. It was just like very cool, loved it, but it didn't have that like mind blown because it's happened already in both the DC universe and the Marvel universe. Yeah. Still cool, but it wasn't like, oh my God. I've never seen this before.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think in summary for me,
it was more cool to see who they were showing. Like the fact that it was just like Nicolas Cage.
Correct.
Because you knew they were going to do a multiverse. It just wasn't
as much.
Yeah.
I actually had to let me end by saying, as far as The Flash goes, kind of in summary of my take on The Flash, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. Some of the nostalgia and the fan service in there was fantastic. I do think it was a little bit overhyped going into the film.
Okay.
As far as like some of the stuff, it was like people were saying this is potentially the greatest superhero film ever made. I mean, stuff like that, and I was like,
That Keaton nostalgia is strong.
Yeah, I was like, no way. We were kind of like, there's no way it's this good. And we saw it, and in my opinion, it is not one of the greatest superhero films ever made. It is definitely fun, but it was overhyped going into it for me. Keaton Batman, definitely the highlight of the movie. The scenes with Keaton Batman were my favorites by far. Again, that's probably just because the nostalgia was just too thick.
That's what got my butt.
Yeah, it was too heavy.
That's what got my butt.
Whatever. The VFX and some other plot elements were a little lackluster for me. One of the other things that I haven't mentioned on here, something was very difficult for me to get past was Ezra Miller being in the film.
You don't like that guy? You don't think Ezra's a good person?
You've been no secret sauce on that one either. So
no, obviously he's not the best person.
Yeah, I mean the him still being the Flash, not just because it's twofold. One, I never thought he was a great pick for the Flash to begin with, although he is better in this movie as the Flash. And his performance as Flash in this movie, I think, was much better. It was improved. I thought Muschietti did a really good job with him, directing him in this film, and how he laid the Flash's story out in this film. I thought it was better. Having said that, Ezra Miller as a person and all of his mental health issues and all the things that's been going on with him for the last couple of years, in regard to multiple felonies, grooming of a young girl, just on and on. Dude should not be on camera. It's just my opinion. Warner Brothers, it's your business. You do you, boo.
I think a lot of people would agree that
there's a lot of people that's one of the reasons. If this movie does not perform well, I think that's going to be one of the biggest. Biggest reasons.
Again, Ezra's done some stuff. You just went over. I think not even all of it. So
no, he's assaulted people. So for a lot of the guy needs help. He needs help. He doesn't need to be, propped up as any kind of a role model for anybody. He needs to be getting help.
It is ironic that they're
going after Jonathan Majors.
Well, no, it's just like
just
ironic that Ezra Miller is playing a superhero who you're supposed to like look up to and stuff, and then
yes,
in real
exactly.
Life,
the
complete
he's
opposite.
A hero.
The complete opposite.
Yeah, and there's just all kinds of things. You've got all the stuff with Jonathan Majors as Kang going on, where they're saying, is he going to play Kang? Is he not going to be Kang?
Are you saying superheroes aren't so super?
Yeah, now the news came
Although
out.
Kang is a villain.
What's the guy's name who's playing Namor, who's now just got accused of sexual assault? It's like been like one thing after the next. And so it's just like
Marvel's not having a good run specifically. No. Marvel and Disney is not having a good go right now.
No. And I am very much a innocent until proven guilty guy.
Yeah.
But when in regard to Ezra Miller, you have this stuff on camera. He was posting it on social media at times. It's just not a good situation. So that was a little bit tough for me to get past to. I kind of had to like put that out of my mind because that's kind of concerning for me from a cultural and social standpoint. But overall, I thought the movie was good, but overhyped, and I had some issues, but I did have fun with it.
I really enjoyed, as far as my summary, I really enjoyed the film a lot. Again, like I keep saying, I need to watch it again, but I don't think it's like, because when I think like peak superhero movies, I think of like Infinity War, like a Winter Soldier, or something like that. I don't think it's that level. You know what it kind of reminds me of? I think I said this to you earlier. It's basically DC's version of No Way Home, because it's a real big nostalgia pull. Because the biggest thing, I
would say I like No Way Home better.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I see what you're saying, and I would agree with that.
I think
it's in that realm.
The big pull for it is because, everyone was seeing the return of like old Spider-Man villains, and then Tobey
heavy
and
nostalgia pool.
Heavy nostalgia, and then obviously like Keaton is way more nostalgic than even Maguire and Garfield, because he was like part of that first like superhero wave, really, right? Yeah. So that was a big thing, and I'm a massive Batman fan anyway. Everyone knows like that's my guy. So I think for me personally, it's probably going to definitely land higher than you, just because, Affleck Batman. I had my two favorite live action Batman in one movie.
Yeah.
Affleck and
Keaton. Briefly.
Yeah, however briefly, but still cool. And man, the Keaton stuff, it was just so good to see him back as Batman again. And even like, again, Ezra, douche of a person, real life. But like the Flash stuff was still fun. Although
his new suit I liked.
Did you?
Did you like it?
I did. I didn't like the cowl. I didn't like how it was too like kind of like eggy in the back.
Yeah, it was such an improvement over the first one that I was like, I will take that all day.
But I still think someone else could play the Flash better. And I've said that since the Justice League.
I absolutely agree with
so
that.
even if Mr. Miller was an angel in real life,
Right.
I would still be like, yeah, but someone could probably do it better.
Exactly.
You know?
That's why I said it's twofold.
Yeah.
It's not just one of,
So, but overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I want to see it again. I want to see it again.
I definitely want to see it again because I want to see if there's anything I missed.
Yeah.
Which, there always is in these films.
Keaton. See it for Keaton. That's all I'm going to say. I don't care.
And I will say it is definitely a fun Father's Day movie release.
Oh yeah.
So like if you're, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there also.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day early.
Happy Father's Day to him.
But if you're a superhero fan as a dad, this would be a fun thing to do on Father's Day. So it's definitely a fun movie.
Or don't you see Transformers? You could see Across Spider-Verse. Well, Indiana Jones 5 won't be out yet.
No, it won't be out.
Okay, but there's still what I'm saying. We're in blockbuster mode right now. Every weekend is a dang movie.
This is the first real return to blockbuster summers since 2020.
Crazy. I can't believe
where it's like one big movie after the next. We haven't had that since 2019.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, I'm like, I can't believe that I'm gonna have to be at the movie theaters every week now because it was it started with especially because I got little ones. So my daughters wanted to see the live action Little Mermaid, so I saw the Little Mermaid. I saw.
I was gonna say you did see it, right?
Yeah, I took my daughter for her birthday, so I saw Little Mermaid. I saw Across the Spider-Verse. I didn't see Transformers yet. Saw the Flash, and I'm gonna see Indy 5.
Yeah.
I gotta see that one.
Yeah.
But I need to see Transformers too.
Even though I know they're going to let me down with Indiana Jones 5, I love Indiana Jones. It's like that. The first 3 films are some of my favorite adventure films of all time. So I'm just a total sucker for Indiana Jones. So my butt's going to be in a theater when that comes out, even though I know I'm probably going to be like, dang it, Lucasfilm, you did it again. Yeah.
That is so good. We're going to get a copyright strike. That's how good that was.
Way to ruin it. Way to ruin it. But yeah, so and I haven't seen Transformers yet either. I might go see that this weekend.
Wait, real quick, because I know we got to wrap this up, but 2-minute thoughts, Cross Spider-Verse, go.
Oh, God.
Just because I'll start. I'm just going to say,
I
loved it. I freaking loved it. It's probably my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. But it's weird because Into the Spider-Verse and Across Spider-Verse go so hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And you really can't have one with the other because it really is just kind of one
It's a continuation, yeah.
So it's hard to separate them, but I mean, it's just the multiverse stuff was so they're both my favorite, I'll say. I don't know. It's hard. It's because
they're both my favorite.
Because and literally this one ends, spoilers, ends to be continued. So this is gonna go directly into the third. And I get it.
Yeah.
You still have to judge it, but I don't know. It was a freaking good movie, Tim. I love this movie so much.
It was. I liked it. My whole family, we all went to see it. Me, my wife, my kids, and everybody liked it. My only thing is I did not like it as much as the first. You liked it, I think, equally.
Yeah.
Right. So I did not like it as much as first. It was a slight tick down for me for a couple of reasons. One, I felt like the animation was a little bit too color vomity at times for my taste. That was just that's my personal taste. It got a little bit messy at times. Having said that, the animation is so artistic and stylistic. It's kind of that's totally subjective. Story super cool. It did feel a little bit slow the first 30-ish minutes. Having said that, I understand that they were setting up a lot of stuff.
For sure. It was long. It was also 2.5 hours.
And there was so many cool elements with the multiverse and all the different Spider-Men, what they did with Prowler, the live action Prowler, and
Spider-Man India
back to that
was dope as well.
Yeah, there was so many fun things in the movie.
The chai tea bit. You're calling it TT. It's
there was a lot of stuff. I love the dynamics of Miles Morales and his family. It's so heartwarming, and they do such a good job of relaying that sense of family and connection in an animated film that you don't get that much chemistry in animated films on that level very often. So they do such an incredible job of that. So there's overall loved the movie. I did have a couple things, and it was a slight tick down for me from Into the Spider-Verse, but it was a great movie, and I'm very much looking forward to see especially after where they leave us at the end. Again,
Beyond
spoilers.
The Spider-Verse?
Yeah. Across the
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse, at the end, where we find out that he is in an alternate timeline.
He thought he went back, but he didn't.
He thought he went back to his own timeline. He ends up in an alternate timeline where Miles Morales is the Prowler. And he comes face to face with himself as a villain. Very, very cool cliffhanger, and that'll be fun to see in March when the comes out.
Just the reveal that the spider that bit him was the one from the Prowler.
Yeah, and that he wasn't supposed to become a Spider-Man.
Which is why they don't let him be in like the League of Spiders or whatever, because he's not supposed to be a Spider-Man.
But he's also kind of the most powerful Spider-Man.
I have a theory. I think the theory is he's gonna beyond the Spider-Verse. He's gonna go live action, and that will set up live action Miles Morales.
That would be
because they have already teased live action.
And no question. And now they brought the Prowler in.
And both directors have said that they actually took out live action fight scenes that they had shot with other actors in this movie. They decided to take it out. So that means they already have this in mind. So beyond the Spider-Verse, where are we going? We're going beyond.
That would be wild and never done before. That would be really innovative.
Could you imagine? Because like
not like that. They've done live action animated mixes, but not like that.
It transitions literally into
a live action story arc, and he becomes part of the MCU. Oh my God. I mean, that would be balls out.
That would be
wild.
Just
yeah, exactly. That would be like well done, everyone.
Golf clap.
So yeah, that would be my 2-minute take and yours. I think kind of universally.
Yeah, who doesn't like that
the response to this movie has been kind of a universal like, yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
Another good one.
Just like
it's just a great creative team.
Well, if the third one is as good or better than these first two, everyone's saying best superhero trilogy of all time. Trilogy. You got so that means every movie has to hit. Because I argued Captain America, but a lot of people say the first Captain America is not that good. So they'll be like Civil War and Winter Soldier, sure, but the first Cap not. So you have to judge that as a trilogy. All three have to hit. So they're 2 for 2 right now. They gotta land. They gotta stick that landing.
Because you certainly can't. I wouldn't put the Nolan films as a trilogy there.
No,
although that is a fantastic trilogy. The final one. It's kind of polarized a little bit.
Yeah.
Although I think it's done better with time.
A lot of people are arguing the Guardians trilogy is solid all the way through. Although I personally think Volume 2
was very lackluster for me.
But there's a lot of people who fight us on that. Like hard.
I'll fight you on that. I'll take that fight.
But with that said, we're out of time.
Yeah, that wraps up this not return of Variant the Podcast.
It's not return of Variant the Podcast.
It's not return.
It's a tease.
This Variant the Podcast teaser. And again, guys, we are returning at a regular schedule. The Variant the Podcast is coming back in July. Yes. So stay tuned. Actually, we do have another special. We'll call it another Variant the Podcast one-shot. Coming up, I'm not going to say what it is yet.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, yes, at the beginning of July, and that might actually be.
No, I'm nervous about that one. I forgot about that one.
We can't say why he's nervous, but there's a reason to be nervous. There is a reason.
Dang it. We're shooting that next week, aren't we?
In the next week, yeah.
Oh God, you guys are okay.
Yeah,
you're gonna want to watch that one.
We got something in store for the 4th of July, actually. Yeah. So, and
there's gonna be fireworks. There's gonna be fireworks,
and that's probably when we will give you the official return date, regular return date for Variant the Podcast. But this has been fun. It's been fun to get back in the chair.
It is, but now I'm just
and
worried.
Talk some Flash.
I legit forgot that we were.
Every time I bring it up, he just goes to a dark place. Goes to a dark place.
It's for you guys, okay? This is. When you see this episode, for those of you listening, watching, and you watch that episode, you'll know what it is. Remember, this is for you. Certainly not for me or Tim.
Well, I think you'll also know whose idea it was. You'll know whose idea it was when you see it. But July 4th, we're going to have one more Varied Podcast one shot before the regular schedule kicks back in later in July.
Yeah.
And don't forget, merch launches June 28th. There's going to be more than this. These are our blackout shirts.
Yes. Different colors.
Logo. Yes, all kinds of different
types
stuff.
of apparel, hats. I want the hats. When the hats coming in? I want my hat.
The hats will be here soon.
The hat.
So we'll be able to show you guys on the show. But we're going to have everything from hats, mugs, hoodies, shirts, long sleeves, all kinds
socks,
of
lunch boxes.
Yeah, backpacks, legitimately. So it's gonna be like, and we'll get it. We'll, when we launch, we're gonna show you guys a bunch more and stuff like that. And thanks to Printful, they're partnering with us to actually put together a really solid store. And we've got a lot of plans to build on the merch as time goes on.
Yes,
we got some great ideas and some cool stuff we're gonna bring you guys. But
But with that said, Tim,
Yep.
we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.